Hi, everyone. A little quick bit introductions of myself first. I'm thrilled to be up here with these amazing ladies. I am Tammeca Rochester, owner and founder of Harlem Cycle. We are Harlem's first and only wellness studio dedicated to indoor cycling. We expanded in 2022 and opened our second location after the pandemic. And I am also a Ladies Who Launch alumni, so I was class of 2020. Thank you. Now, as a small business owner who just opened their second location, and it's a brick and mortar location, so as you can imagine, I am laser focused on how to expand my customer and client base. With that in mind, I am thrilled to moderate the panel on expanding your customer base with two other sensational leaders who are helping small business and entrepreneurs scale through customer-first strategies. Please join me in welcome Abby Malchow. Yes. She's the manager of small business partnerships for small business empowerment at Amazon. Yeah, you know Amazon. I know y'all know the word. It's like, yeah, y'all have heard of them, right? The small business empowerment team is focused on driving the success of Amazon's small business partners and works with teams across Amazon to deliver programs and investments that support their continued growth. Abby joined Amazon in December 2018, and during her tenure, she has remained focused on enabling the success of entrepreneurs, small businesses, and underserved businesses through various roles, programs, and initiatives to include creating the Military Entrepreneurship Program and supporting the launch of Amazon's Supplier Diversity Program. Prior to joining Amazon, Abby worked at Intel Corporation and is a retired U.S. Navy chief and combat veteran, serving more than 20 years in the military. And also, join me in welcoming Anna Collins. Anna is a transformational leader who has pioneered and scaled businesses at early stage ventures and some of the world's most admired brands. You can tell I'm a little nervous, right? Oh, we all are. It's the lights. Anna is currently serving on the boards of Amidon and Ladies Who Launch. Prior to being CEO and president of Jet Closing, Anna was president and COO of Bulletproof 360, my favorite coffee. She served as worldwide general manager of Amazon Prime membership, where she led the first two Prime days, pricing, member engagement, growth, and retention programs. Prior to Amazon, she was recruiting to Microsoft to build out and scale the global search advertising business from concept through launch and growth to over $2 billion. At CVS Health, she was responsible for leading the internet channel strategy and acquisition, culminating in the launch of CVS.com. Wow, listen, wow.
So I'm old.
It is amazing to be here with these ladies, but just a little bit more about myself before we dive in. So after 13 years of corporate America, first working as a mechanical engineer and then a marketing executive at a Fortune 500 company, I decided to just turn my passion towards fitness and community and open Harlem Cycle. After exploring various workout options after moving to Harlem, I realized I needed something else. I was drawn to indoor cycling because it took me back to my happy place of just riding my bike on the streets of Atlanta. But when I got to Harlem, I noticed Harlem was lacking when it came towards wellness spaces. And so I left that corporate role behind and opened Harlem Cycle. We are still the only cycling space north of 92nd Street in Manhattan. Our studio is dedicated towards community, and it has inspired me to make sure that our Harlem Cycle shows the passion, the soul, and the hustle that defines Harlem. So let's dive into it, ladies. Are you ready? 76% of customers expect companies to understand their needs and expectations and to meet them where they are, whether in store, online, or via social media. But as small business owners with limited resources, capacity, time is hard, and I can speak for everyone in here. Our time is hard and limited, yes? Let's start by talking about the importance of a strategy. Can you both talk a bit about what are essential elements of a successful strategy?
All right, I guess, is this on? I don't think mine's on. We're having mic difficulty up here.
Is it the bottom?
Mic check. Nope. It was on. Hello, hello. What did
We'll
do?
just pass it down.
Okay, we'll pass it.
Pass it down.
We'll pass it. Okay, hi everyone. So I'll be talking about strategy in terms of e-commerce because let's face it, that's all I know. That's what Amazon knows. I think a couple things, and I did meet a couple ladies earlier in the evening here who are getting ready to start selling an Amazon store, which is pretty exciting. I think there's a couple things you want to think about. I feel like a music artist with this microphone, I'm not gonna lie. It's important to know before you start selling online what to sell and when to sell. Not everyone is ready to start selling online. It's also really important to have a supply chain and distribution strategy in place. A couple things too is to be trademarked. You don't want to start selling online until you're trademarked. You want to have brand protection because anyone can copy your product. So there's a few key things you want to think about before you start selling online because not everyone is in their right stage of their business journey to do it. You really need to have your target customer identified as well. That's super important. And again, with a distribution strategy, I can't emphasize that enough.
Right on. Thank you. So, I think it's simple and it's hard, and it really, again, it's all about the customer, and starts with knowing your customer and defining that ideal customer profile or understanding who that primary customer segment is. And another way to think about it is who is your best customer, and not just what do they look like or their demographic, but what's their behavior, what's their psychographic, if you will. What are their unmet needs and wants that you're providing with your product or service? And then how are those best customers, your ideal customers, how are you interacting with them? What is your relationship? So when they walk in the door, how many times do they walk in the door? What's their frequency? What's their recency? When's the last time they walked in the door? Are they buying one thing from you? What's their average order size or a value? Are they expanding and buying your stuff in one place? Do you have access or distribution in another channel or place? How would you think about where else they are that you would want to be, like Amazon or Walmart or another marketplace or in a physical location? But I'll go back to really nailing who that primary segment is, that ideal customer profile, starting with them and learning more. How do you learn more? That we have learn, act, listen, act, and learn, and that cycle. What are your ways of finding out? Back to you don't have a lot of time. You can observe, so there's a lot by observation. What data do you have? Okay, you don't have a lot of mechanisms, but what's a mechanism like SurveyMonkey that you can use? How do you know not just if they're satisfied, but what is meeting their need, what effort level it's taking, and most importantly, would they recommend? You guys have heard of that Net Promoter Score. Would you recommend to a friend or a colleague to come? A couple of those simple things, you start getting some of that information that then again you can start taking tests and experimenting on other ways to satisfy that customer or to change their experience, that customer experience. So those are a few things. An example would be I left Amazon to go to Bulletproof 360, and they had stagnated in growth. And they had their core customer was the biohacker, someone who wants to improve their health and is willing to do all sorts of shortcuts. But what they needed was a growth customer. So how were we going to find this growth customer, and who were those people looking for the products that Bulletproof had, this Bulletproof coffee to help maintain and not only lose fat and be healthier and have more energy, as an example, but also have protein products. And so, long story short, we ran a process and we understood there was a, if you will, soccer mom kind of ideal profile that was looking for more protein. That was our growth customer. Where was the growth customer? Not the current places Bulletproof was, as an example. So how do you find those right places? And as you define that growth customer, as an example, then you can go say, okay, what products, what does she care about? Convenience, taste. What product innovation are we going to do to meet those needs? I could keep talking, but I'm going to stop there. Does that sound good?
That sounds good, Anna. And to just touch bases, because as someone who has a brick and mortar, I will say to find that growth strategy and find that customer, sometimes you got to leave your brick and mortar and go to where they are. And it's critical to really sit down and kind of understand your client profile. For me as a fitness studio, 90% of my clients are women. I do group fitness classes. When you go to your group fitness class, it's most likely women is, and so I start with that, and then I look at what she's doing seasonally. In the summertime, she's going back to school shopping because she's most like half of my clients are moms. So in the summertime, I put signs up in the Staples and the local back-to-school shops, and that's how I get her attention. She's flipping through Instagram all day. She doesn't have time to see my fitness ad because she's looking for things. And during a certain season, these are things that are coming to light. Around the Christmas holidays, she's looking for toys and things. So where am I? At toy stores, and that's where we're handing out flyers and putting them up. In the morning, we're going to the coffee shops and dropping, because the coffee shops by school drop-off is where I get a lot of clients, because that's where you stop. When you finally get them out of your car, you want a little moment to yourself, you stop at that coffee shop, there's a flyer about a great fitness class or something that you should do for yourself. And so it's really understanding your client, understanding what she's doing from a day-to-day basis, and getting in front of her and just coming up with that strategy first of just knowing who she is and then how to get in front of her. So that was amazing, ladies. Thank you. So Abby, question for you. Small business owners want to get into big boxes or Amazon, but don't know where to start. What are some program and supplier diversity programs you recommend? Is there a pipeline for Amazon?
Of course there's a pipeline for Amazon. The lady right here in yellow just got accepted into our Black Business Accelerator program. Congrats. No, we have several educational resources. We understand that selling an Amazon store is a quite complex and nuanced topic. So we have the Amazon Small Business Academy, for example. That is available to anyone. You could just Google that. We also have Seller University. There's a YouTube playlist. I always recommend the YouTube playlist. It's anyone can access that as well. You can browse by topic. You can search on things like fulfillment by Amazon, sponsoring your product reviews, the importance of all of that. And then once you become a seller in Amazon store, we also have additional webinars, live webinars with Q&A through Seller University as well. That's also available to folks when they start selling an Amazon store. And then we also have the Black Business Accelerator program, like I mentioned, which provides mentorship, grants, and support for Black-owned small businesses too.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So one of the challenges we see for small business is improving their methods we use to acquire new customers and how we find and acquire them. We touched a little bit on it in the first question. I want to really focus in on how we're finding those customers. So we all know we all took a hit with those IS updates. Facebook and Instagram changes their algorithm every second. And we've all taken the hit because of it. So ads are just not performing like they used to. What other tactics or channels should people consider and be using now?
Well, you're looking at me, so I'll take that. So I think a couple things. One, and as you heard, I was in advertising and paid advertising, and I love it. It's great, and it has to be combined with owned and earned, right? So you want to think about what are those, and it really it's a complementary to that. So what kinds of free, and Tammeca talked about flyers and there's a newsletter, again, whether it's in physical form or you're doing online. How do you, in the store, you're getting your customer list, creating email lists and growing your email list. How do you do that? Through providing more content that's useful. You could have a blog. Again, you could have a weekly newsletter. You could have a welcome series. You could have earned kinds of social, right, in your different social channels and media, and to pick the ones, again, where you don't need to be everywhere, pick the ones where your primary customer is. Do what makes sense seasonally from a moment perspective. And then if you are doing paid, if you're doing some free and you've got content that you're coordinating across your different channels, you want to then boost it with paid. So you want to be coordinated and planful, and again, how you're doing your strategy in this combined owned, earned, and paid, if you will. And so, but it's thinking about where are those, again, starting with that customer, where are they, and how do you create content, and how do they find you? So Google search, again, if you're on Google paid ads, are you doing organic? Or SEO, search engine optimization. Well, to do that, you have to have a website, right, that has content. And then when you bring customers from, whether it's starting with free, you bring them to your website. Are you bringing them to the homepage, or are you bringing them to the product? Where are you bringing them? What's that journey look like so it's relevant from the search, right? And you take them right to the spot that they get the action that then that they want the information for, or they want the product and it's as effortless as possible and as streamlined. So and you're building content to have that right tagging and links. Again, and you can get experts, you can get part-time help, it doesn't have to be full-time help. You can get free resources and mentoring. So there are different ways to start, do a crawl, walk, run, if you will, on these efforts. The other thing I just wanted to say is, you heard I was at Amazon. One of the jobs I had was Amazon Prime Retention, and it was the first time I was the first leader to do anything with Amazon Prime Retention. And I say that because that was 10 years into Amazon Prime, and it was mostly about acquisition. But guess what? What we learned, what Amazon realized was, hey, the customers are coming in, but then they're dropping off. And what you want to know is, if 100 customers start this month, on month 3, how many are left? On month 5, how many are left? On month 12. And so one of the things, again, measuring, we created a 16-month, I know it sounds complicated, but a 16-month yield funnel that said, after 16 months, how many Prime customers are left in all the ways they come to the door. And what kinds of engagements do we do to have them stay longer and to spend more with Amazon to find more of what they need. And we know if they cross-shop that they spend more and they stay longer, as an example. Prime Day was an engagement event, so what events can you create, as an example, that helps them stay longer? And that obviously was at a larger scale, but it's the same idea. So when you think about acquisition and customer growth, look at how many of those are staying and what are your engagement mechanisms to have and retain them and to help them buy more from you and you to meet more of their needs as you think about them as a relationship and customer.
I think I read somewhere that a customer has to see you, if online, they have to see you at least 13 times before they'll press a button. Now, 13 times, that's a lot of times that you got to get content in front of them, that you have to get an ad in front of them, you got to get a blog post. Think about how many times you've flipped past the same ad before you finally say, okay, let me finally press the button. So that's something that, just to keep in mind. One of the things I wanted to just touch back, and I think we've said it a couple of times, is really knowing where that client's going, what's their journey, and how do you meet them in process throughout the journey. If in the winter they're shopping for this on Amazon, then we hit them with this. Then if they're shopping for this in the spring, then you make sure that everything you're putting out there is what they're looking for. And it's the same for a brick and mortar. If they're going here in the wintertime, you make sure you're in front of them in the wintertime at that location. For instance, if everyone's going apple picking in October in New York City, we're out there apple picking, right? You have to be in front of your clients doing the things that they're doing, and also knowing that online isn't the only option. You still guerrilla marketing out there, and that's actually what's stopping people in their tracks. I found that because we get so many ads and because we're on social media all the time, when you actually get a mailer in your mail, or you actually see a postcard at this coffee stop, you pause for a second. So it's knowing those different things about your clients is a great strategy, I think, just on being able to touch and acquire them and getting in front of them. That cuts out, I think, when you online is 13 times, but physically, I think it drops it all the way down to 5 to 7. So play with the strategies. I think there's some things there. So now, if you had one recommendation for the business owners in this room, in terms of something they should absolutely do to prioritize their success, expand your customer base, what would it be?
Again, speaking in context of e-commerce, I hate to use the Amazon leadership principles too much, but I think it's really important to work backwards from your customer. And it's such a simple concept, but it's something that we obviously really believe in. I think once you start understanding your customer shopping habits, like Tammeca mentioned, that's super important to driving your success. Another tip I would give you is really knowing what channel should you, if you were to sell an Amazon store, what channels should you sell through? Are you trying to sell to other businesses? You'd want to leverage Amazon Business, for example. Are you an artisan who makes your own products? You want to leverage Handmade. Are you the next Shark Tank type entrepreneur? You want to leverage Launchpad. So I think it's just really important to know where to start in your journey when you're selling online and understanding how to work backwards from your customer.
Well, +1 on that, working backwards. And the other thing I would say, it's actually, there's an article that was written to CEOs called "Staple Yourself to an Order." It's a 2004 Harvard Business Review article, and when you actually staple yourself to an order and you go through every step and every interaction in the process and the customer experience, that from the start of being a new customer, or you pick the different journey, or a repeat customer, what are they experiencing at every stage of the order? And when you do that and write it down and capture it, you're going to find things you're going to want to reinvent and change for that customer. And there hasn't been a business, that I've been in that doing that exercise hasn't been eye-opening and helpful for the whole team. And then you can use it and keep it alive. So staple yourself to an order.
So I think we can summarize this, and we've heard it over and over again. Know your customer first. First step is to understand your customer, understand their journey and how they would come to you. Staple yourself to that order, yes. And also think about the different ways that you can get in front of them, from paid, earned media, to also thinking of the old school ways of actual print and getting in front of them in the places where they are in store, or wherever they're spending their weekends and wherever they are in their morning. So just kind of know their journey and figure out how to get in front of them in those key touch points.